who is the Special Assistant to the President for Intergovernmental Affairs here at the White House. He's going to kick us off on our next panel, and we'd like to please welcome the second set of champions on the stage now.
Well, first of all, for two reasons. One, because folks need to stretch a little bit, but second, I'd like to ask everybody to give a standing ovation to the second set of champs. So let's do a little stretching and
2 minutes.
We usually like to do this boy, girl, but not this time, I guess. So, one, I want to remind everybody who's watching online that we are tracking this at hashtag #ActOnClimate. Don't forget to join in the conversation via Twitter and online. We're going to jump right in because these folks have already been recognized. Many of you are familiar with them. You've read their bios. They are nothing short of excellence. And so we want to just jump right in. I've got a set of questions, some of which were on Twitter, and some of which are my own. But we want to take as many questions as we can from the audience as well. It's truly an honor. I've known Reverend Yearwood for a while, but it's really an honor to be at the same table with these champions, and especially Reverend Durley. The civil rights work that this man has done, the environmental work over the years, he's a hero of mine, so it's especially an honor to be up at this table. Let's start with the first question, because I think each one of the champions that are here today have worked in some capacity with youth. And in many cases, the young generation is leading the way here on climate change. But I'd like to ask how it is that you're not just getting people to engage on Twitter with a hashtag or posting on Facebook, but taking real and meaningful actions in their community. What are the types of things that you're doing to organize, to mobilize folks out there? And maybe we'll start to my left with Reverend Yearwood on the first question. In terms of mobilization, in terms of organization, what are you doing? What are the specific things that other folks might be able to take advantage of as well?
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. And let me just say this, as a graduate of a historical black college, all three actually, from UDC to Howard, and I'm sitting next to Morehouse, man. Tennessee State, that's right. That's right. But I want to say that because I want to give my condolences to Dr. George Cooper, who was here at the led the HBC initiative here at the White House and passed. And so I just want to make sure that I lift his name up first and foremost. And engaging young people in that, I'm very honored to be sitting here as somebody who has gone from a White House intern to a White House champion of change. So that's a big deal for me as well. But in the spirit, as you mentioned, Ramon, one of the things, as you mentioned, this new movement, I couldn't sit here without first bringing up the fact that I don't sit here, I sit in this seat as a representation of the oppressed and the stressed and the depressed. I sit in this seat not only as Dr. Yearwood's son or Reverend King's father. I sit in this seat because of the issue of climate change is the issue of Black Lives Matter. I sit in this seat representing the Hip Hop Caucus, dear brother like Malik Youssef, to Russell Simmons. I sit in this seat for those like Sandra Bland and Oscar Grant and Ayanna Jones and Trayvon Martin, Rakia Boyd, Jordan Davis, Renice McBride, Eric Garner, John Crawford, Michael Brown, Tamir Rice, Walter Scott, Freddie Gray, and the entire Emmanuel Nine. I sit in this seat because for too long, black folks have been put in a position in which they have been the least. So I sit in this seat simply because coal-fired power plants are around 70% of African Americans. So when Eric Garner says, I can't breathe, and all his children, and including him, have asthma, I sit in this seat because black folk and young black folk are suffering, not only because of poverty, because of pollution. I sit in this seat, Rohan, because it is time for us to take climate change seriously. I sit in this seat because I call on all the leaders in this room, all the faith leaders, to not only talk about climate change, but to also divest from the fossil fuel industry. That is the same fossil fuel industry that is killing, from Chevron to BP to Shell, that caused Hurricane Katrina to Superstorm Sandy. I sit in this seat because we are fighting not only for this generation, but for the next generation. Because this, for our generation, is our lunch counter moment for the 21st century.